Can we talk about superhero movies real quick? Like, where did this sudden increase in quality come from? I remember the days of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But recently, superhero movies have been dropping bangers like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the SpiderVerse, and The Flash. Those have all three been really good superhero movies, and I thought I was done with superhero movies after Endgame, but, you know, my opinion's changing a little. Let's just say that. And of course, there are going to be spoilers for all three of these movies, so make sure you click off if you haven't watched them yet, because I would recommend all three of these movies. So let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy first. So the movie opens up with the team absolutely getting destroyed. Adam Warlock just comes in and basically murders them all. That's what it feels like. I'm like, damn, they're all dead. There's no way they're surviving this. But turns out everybody's fine. They all heal themselves somehow. Except for Rocket. Rocket's not looking too good. Now, with Rocket being injured, we get a lot of his backstory, and his backstory is probably the most interesting backstory out of any Marvel character. I said it. There's not a more interesting backstory, because it's something we have not seen before. It's not like, oh, his mom dies, or his uncle dies, and he's like, I have to be great. I have to be a superhero. But it's something more emotional, it feels like. We all love animals, let's be honest. So that's how James Gunn was really able to connect with us and make us feel for Rocket. And it gave a strong driving force for all the cast to go forward and pursue this goal to help Rocket out, because we don't want to see Rocket die. I thought Rocket was going to die. I actually thought most of the team was going to die, but surprisingly, they did survive. But I like what they did with a lot of the side characters too, and they made Quill feel like a side character here, which hurt me a little, but I was fine with it because it makes sense to see how they want to go forward with things. And I think they gave a lot of the characters meaningful arcs. It was nice to see Drax not be destroyer and instead be a loving and caring dad, and I think a lot of the cast was treated right, especially Nebula. I really did not like Nebula these past movies with Infinity War, Endgame. I never really liked her. I was like, get her out of here. But you know, I really started to like Nebula in this movie, and she finally got on my good side. I also really like what they did with Gamora. Like, I thought she was gonna just jump back into Quill's arms and fall in love with him again. Like, oh my god, Quill, I love you so much. But they did not do that at all. They left her a Ravager the entire movie. I was like, no way y'all are doing this. Because I thought they were gonna have their little makeup story. It was gonna be nice and romantic. And they did not do that at all, so expectations subverted. Also, we have to talk about the main villain of the movie, the High Evolutionary. He was just a asshole the entire time, bro. Played by Chuck Woody. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing your name wrong, man. I'm sorry. But he was a really good actor. He showed anger, he showed emotion, and I really hated his guts. But as an actor, he's like amazing, you know? But they really did a good job with the villain, because any animal hater deserves to be punished to the max. I think the High Evolutionary was actually a better villain than Kang. We understood his motivation, and we understand why he's doing these things to these animals, because he wants to make the perfect being or perfect thing, the smartest thing. But compared to Kang just wants to conquer. Isn't that like an average villain? That's what it seems like to me. At least let me know in the comments if I'm wrong or not. But I feel like he was a better villain than Kang, at least so far. They have time to flesh out Kang still, but what I saw in Ant-Man was pretty bad, and I don't know what else they could do with Kang other than making him want to conquer. Like, why does he want to conquer? Just to conquer? That's the average villain, man. Kang is looking like an average villain compared to the High Evolutionary. That's all I'm saying. This movie felt like a goodbye to a lot of the characters. It feels like we're not going to see a lot of them except in cameos or except in the next big Marvel movie, and it felt like these characters got a satisfying ending to their story. Although it's not necessarily over for them, it feels like they're at a good stopping point for their character. James Gunn did this because he's basically breaking up with Marvel at this point. If you do not know, he's going to be heading DC, and he's going to be piecing together their universe to hopefully make something good, you know, at DC. They really need it. But it really felt like a goodbye from James Gunn, and like he was handing off the series to somebody else. It feels like it's time for somebody new to step in. So here's to the next Guardians. Let's see what you guys could do. But speaking of James Gunn, let's talk about The Flash real quick. I definitely think it's the weakest of the three movies, but don't get me wrong, it's definitely a hit for the DC universe, and I think it's better than a lot of this new phase of Marvel movies. So let's start off where it opens up. They introduce this little energy bar thing where he needs to eat in order to be able to run, and for some reason they kind of just forget about this, and they never really talk about it at the end of the day. But I will say the running scenes are super sick, but Let's talk about the CGI. I'm sorry, it sounds like I'm dissing on this movie, but these are the two main cons I had. The CGI is so dodgy at some points. It's like, what am I watching? Like the scene with the babies when the babies are falling, those babies looked fake. They looked like some Barbie dolls or something. But other than that, I think the plot was really good. It really pulled on your heartstrings and it had a lot of nostalgia for you to work off of. The twist with like him not being able to save Batman and Supergirl was super heart-wrenching because we all expected them to survive. Every superhero movie has their main characters surviving, but I guess this is a side universe, so I guess I could kill those characters. And also another thing, they were able to kind of get by this film without a true antagonist. I don't know how they did it, but they really made it feel like there was a driving force even though there was like no true antagonist. I mean, Zod was there, but he really felt like a side villain, and it felt like he was kind of pushed to the side a little, and he didn't have like that driving force that he did in Superman. Barry's evil clone could also be considered a villain, but the thing is, he was only there towards the end, so I wouldn't consider him a true antagonist either because he was just at the very end. So I think they did a really good job without a true antagonist being able to build up the stakes and build up what was going on. And I think the scenes with Barry and his mom were really, really heart-wrenching. And it made me think a lot about, my own current situation. I'm like, dang, what if that were to happen to me? And it made me feel like I was the Flash for a second after I got out of the theater running down the hallways. But it's a good step forward for DC. I will say, though, another con. What is the post-credit scene doing? I know they're showing Jason Momoa as Aquaman still, but what is that post-credit scene doing? Like, there's no point. Don't waste my time. I sat through those credits for what, man? I can't get that time back. But I'm excited to see what James Gunn does with this new cast, and I was excited to see a lot of old faces in the movie as well, so I can't wait to see where the Flash goes. Finally, it's time to talk about the main reason why I wanted to do this video. Across the SpiderVerse. Yes, sir. It is one of my favorite movies of all time at this point. I've rewatched it 3 times, and I love the movie. There's only one really bad part about it, and we'll get to that. But let's do this one more time. So the movie opens up with Gwen Stacy, played by Haley Steinfeld, in her own watercolor world, and it's a very unique art style that we don't see in a lot of movies. But we get her backstory about her dad, who's a police captain, and we learn what happened to Peter Parker, and we get her whole sob story, this, that, and the third. And then another minor gripe I have is that her dad basically threatens to kill her, which I cannot see any dad who loves their daughter doing that. Because at a certain point, everybody basically separates their life from their job, and her dad definitely did not do that, so she had every right to leave, which led her to going across the Spider-Verse. See what I did there? But after Gwen's little backstory, we jump to Miles Morales, and we get to see how he juggles his life between being himself and being Spider-Man. And as a lot of Spider-Man stories go, he is pretty bad at it, man. But he did have some arguments with his parents too that were realistic. In a lot of movies, either the parent is completely correct or the teen is completely correct. But in this movie, it felt like they were both correct, but they were both wrong in a certain aspect at the same time. So I think they did those arguments really well as well. But let's talk about the Spot real quick. He is a joke of a villain at first. I really could not take him seriously, tripping over himself and losing the battle that easily. How am I supposed to take him seriously? And the movie wanted you to do this, which I think they did a super good job of. And seeing him build up his power over time and taking him as a serious threat at the end of the day was one of the most satisfying feelings ever. And let's be honest, in the comics, he's a joke character. He's not meant to be taken seriously. But after this movie, he deserves his spot in the Sinister Six. Give him that right now. Give him his crown. And while we're on the topic of antagonists, let's talk about Spider-Man 2099 real quick. He is really well written, and that is what makes a really good antagonist. I believe if this movie followed Miguel O'Hara as the main character, it would also make a really good movie. Somebody who's trying to save all the universes by killing the anomaly, which basically makes Miles Morales Thanos. I also think all the side characters in the Spider Society were done really well. For example, Spider-Man India and Spider-Punk, those are 2 new characters that a lot of people love today. And they already did this with Into the Spider-Verse too. They really could have just reused those characters, but they came up with a whole new cast for us to love and appreciate. Another thing we have to appreciate about this movie is the soundtrack and the album that go with this movie. They are amazing and they really fit the movie really well. If you want my reaction towards the album of this movie, you could go check it out on the channel. It's posted there. Up to you though. But the soundtrack makes it feel like something big is coming around every single turn, and that's what I love about it so much. One of the last things I want to talk about is the plot twist at the end of the movie and finding out Miles Morales is the Prowler. Because we were all expecting it to be Uncle Aaron again, but seeing Miles Morales come out as the Prowler, and let's be honest, he was looking a little too good, you know? I'm a little jealous of him, can't even lie. But seeing him as the Prowler was a huge surprise and something that caught me off guard, which I'm not used to in theaters at all. But when that plot twist did come up, something was in the back of my head. How are they introducing this character when this movie has been going on for so long already? And what I regretted the most did come true. The to be continued. That is the one bad thing about this movie. I hate to be continueds, and I know they did it with Infinity War, but that felt like a natural end. This one, it feels like you're right at the climax and they just cut you off from it. They take you out of it, which is so messed up, man. And now we have to wait a year, but it might get delayed. So it might be like 2025 or 2026. I don't know if I could wait that long, man. But I'm just excited for this next movie and I'm ready to see the finale to this movie. And I really hope it is good. I hope they do not flop, because if they flop, it might ruin this movie for me. Can't even lie. But all these movies that I just ranted about for 10 minutes were super good, and they were all superhero movies. I thought superhero movies were dead, but I'm wrong. 3 back-to-back really good movies from both DC and Marvel. So let's just say I'm excited to see what comes next. Anyway, if you guys like this video at all, please subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 1,000. We're trying to get there. We're getting there slowly but surely. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next video. Deuces.